are you slowing down the words that you're saying, and then that because that's also part of it?
Yeah, I'm kind of doing a bit because if I talk normal, it would be like this, but
Yeah,
I
right.
wanted to be like, jack off
Yeah,
in
right.
your
Yeah,
taillogs, you sinners.
Just making sure. What else you got over there? What other voices can you slide into?
We're not gay. You're the gayfer.
All right, here we are, Airheads. It's time once again for everybody's favorite fancy shit show. It's Putting on Airs with Trae and Corey. I'm Trae. That's Corey. We're recording this on November 6th, Wednesday. Nothing really of note has happened in the world or the country and recently.
Same place.
Yeah. No, look, I don't know what the hell y'all want from us, okay? I don't know what you expect.
Me either.
This ain't, we don't talk about politics on this show one way or the other. We try to avoid it. We talk about them plenty in other avenues. You can search those other avenues. Today we're just going to try to, I don't know, prove to be a distraction, although this is politically adjacent, but I feel like we have to talk about that goddamn squirrel.
We do. I've been tagged
reasons.
so many times this week. We've been sent messages to all the Putting on Airs groups. Yeah, you're right, Trae. Go ahead. Catch people up to speed a little bit if they're unfamiliar.
So apparently this OnlyFans feller who jacks off on camera but also likes animals. I don't think he just jacks off. I think actually he porks his old lady on camera.
He does. Yeah.
They got
Which, by the way, we're for. We're for.
Love it. All for it. They do that on OnlyFans and also rescue woodland creatures, diverse set of interest. It takes all kinds. And there's people for their animal saving pursuits. They raise money to put towards all their, raccoons and possums and whatnot that they have. Their menagerie of little furry fellers. They raise money primarily through social media because their big superstar on social media that was viral and had all these followers and generated income for them was a gregarious squirrel named Peanut, who was their official mascot.
Original name.
Now, me, I don't traffic in squirrels, as y'all know, so I'm not familiar with Peanut's work. Either early career or, right before his demise. I don't know if you are. You seen any of Peanut's stuff?
No, I haven't seen any of Peanut's stuff. I, like many, learned about Peanut because of the unfortunate demise that he faced. Now, apparently, and by the way, apparently plenty of people knew about this Peanut before, which is honestly why he met his demise. He was a very popular squirrel. If this squirrel had been, living a life of obscurity, none of this would ever have happened. But yes, to your credit, they have an OnlyFans, but I also think they have like a separate portion of their social media content that is just people for whom the squirrel hits. It's very brilliant. It's like, obviously you promote your OnlyFans, but that's only going to go out to a certain demographic of people. You can on Elon Twist's Twitter, you can put dick and butts and stuff everywhere, but a lot of times people are going to continue scrolling. But as you know, we live in a world where people could be starving in Uganda. That video gets 500 views. You see a cute squirrel, plus 5 million. So they've got two things going on.
They do, but I know that they also mixed and matched a little bit. They overlap some. I know because our buddy Smart Mark sent us a video of the dude walking around with like an erection in like a pair of Speedos and a cowboy hat with Peanut the squirrel, climbing all over his dick and stuff. No. I mean, like climbing all over every part of him.
Which, I mean, that hits for the squirrel.
Scurrying around him, his whole body, including his,
Wiener.
Turgid penis. Yeah, right. So I think there was at least a little bit of overlap in the two pursuits. But anyway, the authorities found out about this. People speculate, actually, that it wasn't actually... I think the dude thinks that maybe it wasn't even about the squirrel, that it was the sex stuff that they were doing.
I don't think it helps.
Either way, they got the attention of the authorities. When the authorities showed up, Peanut weren't having it, and he bit one of them. He bit one of these animal cops or dick and butt cops, whatever the case may be.
The
I think
boys
they were
in
animal
green.
cops. Yeah, but the boys in green, green lives matter. Peanut bit him, and anytime that happens, they of course, have to murder the animal that did that.
Mm-hmm.
And they said that to do that because he had been bitten by a wild animal, he might have rabies, and the only way to test for rabies is to kill the animal and then check its brain. So they had to make sure that the cop didn't have rabies, and the only way to do that was to kill Peanut and check his brain. Apparently, they'd had Peanut for like 7 years. He was like a part of their family, but they had also just recently rescued a raccoon named Fred.
Yeah.
And Fred had the misfortune of getting caught in the crossfire here because I don't think
they killed Fred too.
They did. I don't think Fred had anything to do with any of this really, but they were. I like
thinking of Peanut going Ricky while the squirrel's running away.
Yeah, Fred was just like, I guess they're just like, oh, is that a raccoon? Kill it too. They probably don't hit. They're nasty. They're trash beast. He's probably got something too, or maybe he also bit an animal cop. I don't know. But anyway, they killed Peanut and Fred. The internet found out about it and got very pissed off. I'll just say, apparently Peanut the dude tried to defend Peanut by being like, look, he bit me multiple times and I never got rabies. Like, he don't have rabies. And it's like, well, he sounds like he's kind of a little to me. Like, Peanut ought not be biting people. That's what happens when you're an animal and you bite a human, you get dealt with. Yeah.
Right.
That's just how we roll. You know what I mean? I was just thinking earlier about there was an ant crawling across my counter, and I was like, dude, I'm like a celestial,
Oh, yeah. Oh.
To this ant, and it's so wild to think about. And then I started thinking about how, like, there's spiders that we're like celestials to them too, but we are afraid of them. You know what I mean? A lot of humans are afraid of them, and they do have the capacity to fuck you up. But I'm just saying, dude, if you're something that big, that much bigger than you ought not with it, is all I'm saying. So I thought Peanut, he was feeling himself a little too much, or he was just a little too reckless, agree more. I guess. Like,
could not agree more. Now, the only defense I will make, and everybody knows how I feel about squirrels, and we don't have to rehash all that, but this is a different situation. But I will say this, if a squirrel is in the wild and it bites you, yeah, you got to take care of it. Or if a dog is out unleashed and it bites you, sure. My only thing, though, is like, if it's in the person's home and you're coming to with it, then kind of that's on you a little bit. Like, do you know what I'm saying? It reminds me of that Chris Rock bit when they had to euthanize the tiger of Siegfried and Roy. It's like, that tiger went tiger. Like, what did you expect? Now, I would have to imagine that if these people had Peanut as a pet squirrel for a while and they seem to love it, like, I feel like they would have had him had his shots. You know what I mean? So it seems like it could have been as simple as like, hey, can you provide that that he has his rabies shots? And also, if I'm not mistaken, rabies, you can't cure rabies, can you?
No,
you can't. Okay, so why instead of killing, why not just wait to see if the cop dies?
I could be wrong about this. This is coming from my butt. This is the prognosis of Dr. Butt here, as we do. But I think the way it works is there is like a vaccine or cure, however you want to call it, for rabies, but like you have to take it before any symptoms present. And once symptoms present, there's no cure and you're going to die. But if you find out early enough and you don't have any symptoms yet, I think you can take this shot and it will keep you from getting it.
So why not just get the cop to go do that and
take
then
one of those shots? I think because the shots are real, I think they're like, they don't hit. They're like real expensive, hard to get, and I think they hurt and stuff. It's also expensive to use government resources to make a house call for a squirrel. And another thing here too, if I'm not mistaken, is that like the reason that these cops even went to, and that's another thing we should point out, because a lot of people, and I know we don't get political on this show, but a lot of people immediately made this whole thing political in saying that like,
it was the current administration's fault that this happened, right? But in reality, what happened is this squirrel is so famous that what I heard was a lady from Texas, this squirrel's like in New York, a lady from Texas had been following this squirrel like many people and decided, I don't think these people should have a rodent as a pet. And she makes a call like Monday morning quarterback style, or like in golf when somebody's like, hey, in that round, I saw his club hit the sand. That's a penalty. And that's what made them go do this in the first place. So, like, this is an overreach of the cops, not any type of administration, right?
Well, it's also just funny to me that all these, like, rednecks are, like, up in arms over the death of a squirrel when it's like, you know.
Release the body cam footage.
They'll just, that too, that, like, they care about police brutality when it's animal cops murdering an innocent squirrel, but, you know, an unarmed black father of 4 gets gunned down, and they're like, well, what was in his pockets? You know, what was
exactly.
he up to? But also just like they love to kill squirrels, I'm saying. Like, you know, they stay killing squirrels, killing and eating squirrels. It's a good pastime. By the way, I'm in favor of it. Y'all know I don't give a damn about squirrels, but
yeah. And I am so in favor of squirrels, but I do still see if the squirrel bit the cop, then whatever. Like, I guess what I'm saying is, as much as I've gone on record as saying squirrels' lives matter, I just, it's insane to me that so many people are using this as a benchmark for some political fiasco when, like, and I know how this is going to sound coming from me, it's a squirrel. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I looked it up. You cannot give a squirrel a rabies shot because there are no injectable rabies vaccines that are approved for use in wildlife. Let's see. Then this person on the subreddit r squirrels got their own subreddit.
Of course they do.
Says, new squirrel owner, should I get any vaccines for him? They found a baby squirrel and they're keeping it.
You know who, if I'm not mistaken, has the top post of all time on r squirrels?
Who's that?
Our buddy Jake Head.
For what? Why?
He was in Central Park and a squirrel perched on his shoulder and it went insanely mega viral.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure that was like the top post on r squirrels.
That makes sense. It checks out. That is also wild, though. The top post on r squirrels right now is they euthanized Peanut.
Of course.
So let's see. That euthanized Peanut. My heart is broken for his family. The world is a cruel place. They also euthanized Fred the raccoon.
It's also interesting, too, if we're going to try to not be political, but at least get up to the line with it, that this is the only time a lot of these people on the right have had any type of sympathy for OnlyFans creators. You know what I'm saying? Like, normally, no one would give a shit what happened to these people. Most of them would be like, I bet they were banging the squirrel, which they may have been doing. I have no idea. But, like, the idea of, as a freedom-loving American, the idea that you can't have a pet squirrel is kind of insane to me. And I'm saying that knowing a lot of people who have had pet squirrels. My papaw had a pet squirrel. Who was super sweet, super loving, definitely loved, definitely grieved. And I just don't really understand that. And I can't, I'll tell you what, this would be a lot more big of a deal if it had been a Bichon Frise. I can tell you that much.
Well, I don't know. I mean, you say that. You sent me a video just the other day of a Shih Tzu, which is like a cute little purse dog type of dog,
right,
getting brutally murdered by a cop. And
that was crazy.
I didn't hear nobody. It was so crazy, dude. I mean, I know I'm like laughing. It's like, don't get me wrong.
No,
I do think it was
funny.
It was very up, but it was like, it was so
the
comically
ravenry
egregious.
Is funny.
The ravenry at hand, because this cop, and I told
it was
this
like a
story
Shane
last night
Gillis
on
sketch.
Skews. Yeah, this cop in the body cam footage, he walks up to this Shih Tzu that also is deaf and blind, and it has gotten out because it don't know where anything is. It don't know what out is or where stuff goes because it can't hear or see anything.
The Shih Tzu literally can't.
Yeah, it's unable to even. It cannot even.
Yeah.
But so it's out in the woods, lost, like I'm sure it typically is. But this cop finds it, and in the body cam footage, he walks up to it first, and he's like, "Hey, buddy."
Yeah,
gonna get you taken care of here. Just 1 second. That's how he's talking. And then he pulls out that classic loop on a stick thing that dog catchers use and all the time.
Dog catchers and people who are bombing at the Apollo. That's the thing that they.
Yeah. He pulls out the loop on a stick thing, but it's disassembled. It's in pieces. Like he pulls it out and it's like supposed to reassemble, slide together in the different segments. And on the body cam, he's holding it in front. He's trying to put it together, and he can't. He's so stupid, I guess, that he can't get the pieces to go together. So he's like, "Okay, buddy, just a second. Let me just put this on the. I'm just gonna. It goes in the. This thing can't get the. Fuck." Bam, 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 bam. He just pulls his gun. He just gets mad. He gets frustrated that he can't put the thing together, so he just says. It throws on the ground, pulls his gun out, and just caps this poor old deaf and dumb dog, and then goes about his day. And people saw it, and they got real pissed. And he was like,
as they should.
Unfortunately, regrettably, I had to dispatch the animal, and people are like, what?
And for context, I'm certain that some people grabbed the context, but we didn't say it rightfully out loud. The reason this cop was there was not because someone called and said, "There's a dangerous dog on the loose." It was, "My dog is blind and lost and I can't find him and I need help getting him in." So this dog was never a danger. It would be, as much as I don't like cops for the most part, nor do I like killing animals, it would be one thing if this was a dangerous Doberman Pinscher that was terrorizing a neighborhood. The cop tried everything to not shoot it and it jumped at him and he shot it. But this literally was just a cop being frustrated and going, "Well, this is the easy way out," which is what they do with everything. They're like, I say what you will, but shooting it would be easy.
Yeah. Without a doubt, shooting it is easier. But yeah, I don't know. I hope Peanut burns in hell. So.
And I mean, by my belief, he will, or nothing will happen to him. I mean, I had this big argument when I was a kid with the church of, I remember, this is so funny. We talk about this all the time about how, when you really think about some of the things the church says to children, that they in their mind think this is what we should say. Oh, it's crazy. When I remember when I was a kid, having the church tell me straight up, "Your uncle is going to burn in hell forever unless he gets saved." They would say,
I had that too.
Yeah, right. Of course you did. Yours for being gay, mine for being an actual sinner. My uncle, listen, if there is a hell, my uncle deserves to be there, not yours. You know what I mean? For context, my uncle ruined every single Christmas, held himself hostage against the Georgia Bureau of Investigation. Yes, exactly like the scene from Blazing Saddles where Cleavon Little holds the gun to his head and goes, "I think he's crazy enough to do it." My uncle did that. Beat his wife 100%, beat everyone. The first time I ever saw my uncle on the news, it's because there was road construction going on and there was a reporter reporting on it. And my uncle just happened to be in traffic at this time. And while the guy's sitting there going, "So they're going to widen the lanes and it's unfortunate right now, but we know it'll be a good thing." In the background, you can see my uncle beating the shit out of a construction worker and they had to cut to it. And we're all like, "It's Uncle Jordan." Anyways, my uncle deserves.
I'm starting to sound to me like maybe the church was right in this instance.
They were. That's the point I'm making. But they shouldn't have told a 6-year-old that. Hey, by the way, because they had a thing at church. I know that you don't know this, but on Wednesday night service, they would lead the service off with what is called a lost list, right? And
I've
the lost,
heard of that before,
yeah,
I think.
probably from me.
Is that separate from the just the prayer list? Don't they do like
the prayer list?
A prayers up for
prayers up for Mr. Walt Brandon is having surgery, so we're praying for him.
Yeah.
The lost list was specifically a piece of paper that, by the way, they photocopied and sent out to everyone so that you could follow along during this. The preacher would get up there and read off a list of people who everyone in the church knew they had submitted these names. These people are not saved and they're going to hell. So these are the people that we need to reach out for. One of the people on the lost list, by the way, was a kid who was in the church for the lost list, and he is, and I know we're not supposed to say this word anymore, but he was mentally okay. He literally, he had developmental disorders, and they would call his name out and he'd just be sitting there playing two yo-yos. You know what I mean? Like whatever. And,
what did he do to deserve burn?
He didn't accept,
he couldn't accept Jesus.
He couldn't accept Christ because he couldn't fathom it.
Yeah, right. Because
he didn't.
Yeah.
He's the only one so R-worded that he couldn't, because everybody else was R-worded too, but they were just less R-worded enough
to Goldilocks zone of being R-worded.
Yeah, R-worded, but
to where the Lord makes a lot of sense to him.
Dude, he used to. This is so funny about him. This is my favorite thing. And by the way, he's one of those that they all have a special skill. He never.
And I will say this, Cho, real quick. The most R-worded person in my grade growing up, and I mean, like, again, clinically, medically R-worded, like real bad. I mean, like he was bad. Like he was very, very disabled developmentally. I don't know what the goddamn right terms are for any of this stuff anymore. But like he couldn't. Like I remember we were in high school and like they would do like awards or whatever, or like special academic achievements and shit. And he got one for counting to 100, right?
Yeah.
When we were like 15 or 16 or something.
Right. And he was saved.
He's the one that he's the same. Everybody called him Big D, because he was big.
Is he the one with the?
Yes, that's what I was about to say. He's also the one that when I was in gifted, which was the same thing as special ed, when I was in gifted / special ed, my buddy Skybone put this Big
White
D
guy?
used to sit. Do what? White guy? No.
Yeah.
Believe it or not, no, Skybone was not. He was of the black persuasion. But Big D used to sit in the back and play, round peg, round hole on a computer or whatever, like during class, with headphones on, and the headphones are supposed to be saying like, the pig goes oink, that type of shit. But we found out at the end of the semester that for the entire school year, every day before class started, Skybone was going back there and instead playing 3-6 Mafia through Big D's headphones the whole time. So he just back there rocking out to slob on my knob and stuff.
Yeah. And I bet he was slobbing.
Yeah, which does hit. But anyway, the only reason I even brought up Big D was just to say, I'm trying to illustrate to everybody that like this kid was very developmentally disabled. Like he was profoundly so, and he loved the Lord. His parents were rich because he got that way because a doctor did it to him. Like when he was a baby or a kid, like the doctor of the hospital him up when he was real little and made him that way.
Right.
So his parents sued rightfully. They had a medical malpractice suit.
Did they win?
Got a shitload of money. Yeah. So they had like a lot of money, especially for Salina. So they had a big, nice house, but they also, at their big, nice house, they built him a little church beside it that he would go out and like do sermons in, like to nobody. Like he would go out in this little church that they built him like a little playhouse church that he would go out and preach the good Lord's gospel to, an empty room or whatever. Cause that's how much, that's how much the Lord hit for him.
Well,
it'd be funny if like, that's where you found Jesus, you know what I mean? Like if I went in there and that was what swayed me, Big D's sermons. But anyway, I'm just saying that to say I don't know what's going on with your boy.
Well, I'm
but
about to tell you because there's a
mine
second.
was pretty bad off, and he was all about the good Lord Jesus Christ.
Well, there's
So,
a second.
just
There's
throwing
a
that out
second
there.
part to this that's going to make a whole lot of sense to you that we didn't realize until way later. So they all have a special skill, as we know, aside from being strong. And his was he could not miss from beyond the 3-point line. Could not. I don't mean like he made a lot of threes. I mean, it was physically impossible if he shot the ball, no matter how many people were guarding him, that it went in. But here's what was hilarious. Every time
Big D was a basketball guy too, but he only shot free throws. He shot them granny style underhanded, but he was pretty good at them. He
shot like this. This is how he threw his. Never missed one. But every time he shot it, he would go, Terrell Davis, as if that was a basketball player, right?
Yeah.
Well, anyways, he would also say random wild stuff during church. Like we were in Sunday school and they would ask for prayer and he would be like, yeah, I need to pray for my watch because it's broken. And we would all laugh and they were like, that's sacrilegious. You can't do that. Anyways, he was always deemed as just R-worded, right? He was just always deemed as R-worded. Well, guess what? We leave the church. This kid ends up growing up. He gets a full scholarship to Michigan and is now an engineer. He was just autistic.
See, I was actually going to say...
He was just autistic, but we didn't have that word for that.
Right. Well, even the way you described him, first of all, with the Jesus thing, but then also like the Terrell Davis thing or whatever, like as soon as you said that in my head, I was like, dude, there's no way. I can't imagine Big D even knowing, like he could like talk, but like barely. Like there's no way he could.
He had a lisp and stuff.
Terrell Davis, like he never could have done that.
He had a lisp and stuff, and every now and then he would just run around going salsa, salsa. But he had a lisp and stuff. But like what it is that I found out later is he was just severely autistic or had Asperger's, but we didn't have a term for that. So they all got lumped into he's slow. But the reason that he didn't get saved, he was the only smart person at the church. He knew it was bullshit. You know what I'm saying? But like, dude, he was the town R word, but just because we did not know that Asperger's and autism existed. Why am I talking about this? Where were we going?
You're asking me? I don't know, but I'll tell you. But you know what I found out recently? You know our buddy Donnie Singstack, who's got a stutter, right?
Yeah.
He told me that in other countries, like third world countries, and most of the rest of the world, maybe not the Western world,
they
but
shoot
a lot of
you
places,
if you have a stutter.
Well, I mean, maybe, but they literally. He said that like stutter is not a thing. Like meaning people do have stutters, but culturally and societally, they don't acknowledge it as being a stutter. And I was like, so what does that mean when someone has a stutter over there? What's it mean? And he was like, well, they literally just think that it's a type of being R-worded. They just think that you're like, if you have a stutter, they just think that your brain don't work or whatever.
We probably did that. That's true.
I mean, his brain works fine, but I'm saying, you know what I mean? That just doesn't, that's so wild to me because it's so easy to disprove. It's like, give
once
a person
they get to it
a written word problem or something,
and they're fine.
Do it just fine, and that should illustrate to you that they're not like they ain't got a
also they don't do it when they
whatever.
Sing. You know what I mean? Like that's the whole thing with stuttering is like, my dad had a stutter. Like my dad had a really bad stutter when he was a kid. And so like one of his exercises was like always prep and have in your mind what you're going to say. Because if the problem a lot of times with stuttering is you're caught off guard and it takes you a while to get there. But if you have prepared what you're going to say, that it reduces that anxiety. You know what I mean? So like if you're giving a speech and you have the words written down, like it's often not going to happen as much because like it's part of your just My wife and my sister have made fun of me a lot because I'm starting to, I can get that way a little bit. I'm not sitting here suggesting that I have a stutter, but every now and then when I get flustered, a little bit of my dad comes out and I will, because it's like, I'm nervous and my brain gets ahead of myself or whatever. But if I'm on stage and I'm doing bits, that would never happen to me. You know what I mean? But yeah, you're right. It's easily disproved by like I know Donnie did good on the SAT. You know what I mean?
I mean, apparently Donnie was like I don't know if he was literally the valedictorian or not, but he was like
I'm sure
like
he
the
was.
smart
He's
kid in
brilliant.
his class. Yeah. Shit. What did you just say about? Your feller, the hellbound sinning R word of Chickamauga, right?
Mm-hmm.
Did he pee with his pants all the way down?
Yep, you can see his butt.
Yeah, classic.
I
Classic
had one
move.
that did that too, but he just ended up being a cop, which I guess is technically still
same different.
Yeah, same difference.
Half
but like
one hand, six in the other. Yeah. Listen, y'all, as you gear up for the busy holidays with all the expenses that they entail, it's even more important to find ways to save time and money. For everyday low prices you can count on, go with the most affordable of any meal kit out there, EveryPlate. Y'all know I'm a devotee of meal kits. I love them. They do save time and money. They prevent waste. They make you feel like a 5-star chef in the kitchen. They make it efficient and simple and yet still hits. I love these things very much, and you will too. EveryPlate's fresh, pre-portioned ingredients are cheaper than groceries, so you have more money for holiday shopping. You can explore crowd-pleasing variety with EveryPlate's rotating menu of more than 25 weekly recipes, including 30 minutes or less, family faves, calorie smart, and veggie dishes. Get ready for Thanksgiving with easy sides like apple pie crescent rolls and sweet potato casserole. Who don't that hit for? Nobody. Or take a break from rich holiday foods with their collection of holiday detox recipes. Simplify your weeks with hassle-free meals with EveryPlate. You get pre-planned, easy-to-make recipes delivered right to your door. So here's what you can do with affordable dinners for just $5.99 per serving, plus 50% off your first box. EveryPlate helps you save money for a stress-free holiday. Get this amazing deal by going to everyplate.com/podcast and then entering the code POA599. That's code POA599 at everyplate.com/podcast. Listen, y'all, the holiday season is coming up, and I think we all know that a household full of holiday guests is a beautiful and heartwarming thing. Until it enters your mind, you realize that all those people are wiping their butts in your bathroom. Everybody in there just wiping their butt all over the place. You don't want that. Give your toilet a fighting chance. Especially when Uncle Randy comes over, you can install a Tushy Bday. Take care of your butthole. That's right. Don't be like Sexy Red, her booty hole brown. Make your booty hole sparkling, clean, make it hit. So that's what you can do with a bidet. Bidets are all the rage right now, especially from the good folks at Tushy. Right now, Tushy's Bday is dropping deep discounts on bidet life essentials that'll transform your bathroom habits and your butt for life. Now's the time to back away from boring gifts and dirty habits to save on a luxury lifestyle upgrade that you will use every single day. If you've been waiting to upgrade your bathroom or grab the perfect gift for anyone on your list, now's the time. You can go to hellotushy.com to see all this week's savings on their bidets, bundles, and instant bathroom upgrades. It's very easy. The Tushy Bday easily attaches to your existing toilet. You don't need any additional plumbing or electricity. It's a precise stream of water, hits you right in the balloon knot, removes 99% of bacteria compared to wiping only. I had it put to me like this years ago. Imagine you got some poop on your arm or your hand. You wouldn't just take a piece of paper and just wipe it off and then go about your day. That would be insane. Well, why do you do that with your butt? No, use a bidet. Use water stream. Wash your butt with Tushy. Cho, it hits for you, don't it?
It hits so hard for me, man. And it's one of those things where, I had a little trouble with it at first because it's hard to admit as a man, especially, that you've been doing something wrong your entire life. You know what I mean? But using a bidet versus using regular toilet paper is akin to when the first time I roasted Brussels sprouts with olive oil instead of just eating them boiled like my grandmother used to, where it's like, yeah, technically this is a similar thing, but like this is way better. And it goes back to what friend of the show Caleb Simon says. In any other aspect, it would make no sense to just wipe poof off. Why are you doing it with your butthole? And also, frankly, sometimes even when I don't have to go to the bathroom, I just go in there to get just a little refresher. And I'm sure there's a lot of guys out there that are like, I don't want nothing going near there. I'm not, well, there's people that have proclivities for that. And I promise you, they're not doing any favors, right? It feels good. It's great. It gets you a wonderful clean. You're going to walk out of that bathroom going, ain't nothing down there, right? Give the gift of practical luxury that benefits everyone in your household. For a limited time, our listeners get 10% off their first bidet order when you use the promo code POA at checkout. That's 10% off your first bidet order at hellotushy.com. That is hello, TUSHY.com with promo code POA. And don't forget to give us a shout out while you're there and let them know that we are the ones that sent you. Go to hellotushy.com for the best gift this holiday season. We thank Tushy so much for sponsoring this podcast, a partnership unlike any other. POA and Tushy. That is hellotushy.com, promo code POA. Skid it.
Well, speaking of people that probably had autism, well, you know about Sylvester Graham?
Sylvester Graham, the actor?
No.
I'm thinking of Sylvester Stone and the Graham that plays Al Capone in
Stephen Graham. He's awesome.
Graham, he rules. I love him. I love him.
He's
so
one of my
much.
absolute favorites, dude.
He's one of the most underrated character actors of all time.
Him as Al Capone in Boardwalk Empire is just
crushes.
So
that show's very underrated,
phenomenal. It hit for people when it was out, but it hasn't had the
longevity,
power of The Wire and The Sopranos and stuff like that. But
it came out during that time. It was overshadowed by a lot of that stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I rewatch it all the time. It's brilliant. It's got one of the best endings I've ever seen in a show that kind of shouldn't work, but it did work. But yeah, what were we talking about? We had a thing.
Sylvester Graham. Sylvester Graham is known by a lot of people as the father of vegetarianism. America's first vegetarian, but he also Sylvester Graham, as in Graham crackers. But there's some irony there in what graham crackers actually are. But this dude was like a cult figure, like a health guru in the 18th century, 19th century, in the 1800s.
Is he the one that did the kinesthetic workouts and stuff? I
don't know, but you know how old boy Kellogg.
Yes, it's the same thing. Jerking off.
Decided that boys like to jack off because they eat stuff that tastes good. So to keep them from jacking off, they should just eat like shitty cornflakes and stuff that ain't got no flavor. Well, Sylvester Graham I think was like the progenitor of all that. Like he came up with that stuff. Him and Kellogg were like boys and colleagues and stuff, and they believed the same shit. But I believe that Sylvester Graham actually pioneered most of it, and then, or maybe they did it around the same time.
Graham crackers do hit though.
I know, and that's part of the irony, because we'll just go ahead and skip ahead to that part. They were invented way after he died, but the reason they're called he didn't have nothing to do with them, but the reason they're called graham crackers is because this dude, it was like his whole thing was kind of the first fad diet in America. Mm-hmm. You know how like the Atkins diet and all that. Now we got paleo and
cottage cheese and pineapple,
all that shit.
Yeah.
The Graham diet or lifestyle or whatever was kind of the first one of those. And because it became so popular and widespread, people capitalized on it by making things and like naming them after him. You know what I mean? So it's like there was a Graham healthy living lifestyle or whatever. So if you make these crackers, you call them Graham crackers. People are like, oh, those must hit for me. Right. So that's how they came to be. And that's why they're called that. But the thing is, like you said, they do hit.
Yeah.
It's actually just like Kellogg's brother. Kellogg made just regular cornflakes. He's like, this will keep them from jacking off. Right.
His brother made Frosted Flakes.
And then his brother was like, you know what would really hit is if we made these hit. I bet them people would really like them. You know,
and they do hit.
let's put a bunch of sugar on them. And they do hit and sold like they're great, and they sold like wildfire. But
not
you
for
know,
nothing,
just,
I like cornflakes, but I do put sugar in them.
right? So it don't count. You're just like making frosted flakes. You know?
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, his brother did that, you know, which pissed on Kellogg's legacy on his cornflakes, I suppose. But was a resounding success. It's the same thing with graham crackers. They spit in the face of everything Sylvester Graham stood for.
Good.
By virtue of hitting.
Yeah.
Because he could not stomach that. Literally nothing was allowed to hit. But yet they named him after him just for like marketing reasons or whatever. But
and these are the times that people want to go back to for some reason. This is that America. This is the America that was somehow good.
So in 1830, in the early 1830s, there was a big cholera pandemic. That's the thing too. It's like we had COVID for a couple years. This cholera pandemic lasted from 1829 to 1837. Right.
Woof.
And we still be getting
COVID.
The accepted medical opinion at the time, naturally, was that the best way to prevent getting cholera was to eat a bunch of meat, drink port wine, and at all costs avoid vegetables. Right. So
the Al Michaels diet, baby.
The Al Michaels diet. Just
he's never had cholera
with gout. Yeah. Right. Yeah. I mean, I guess that is true. That's a good point. Also, at this time, people naturally believed that cholera was a punishment from God. It was a plague sent by the Lord to kill all the sinners and whatnot.
Well, that's never gone away, has it?
No.
You think of things like that. Like we've researched on this show, like the popes of past who banned the cats, and every single plague was sent by God or whatever. And like that still persists to this day until it bites those people in the butt, like such as, again, not to get political, just to get real, but like, you know, for years it's been earthquakes in California is because God hates queers, and any hurricane in North Carolina was because God hates queers. And then as soon as Florida gets hit with one, it's because the Jews control the weather. And so we still have such medieval tactics that just permeate our current culture, and it's a wonder we're such a progressive nation on this day, November the 6th, you know? Yep.
So Sylvester Graham was like into the Lord and stuff. He fell into this the Philadelphia Temperance Society, right? Which said that alcohol wasn't it. Alcohol was society's, you know, poison and ought to be outlawed or whatever. And while with them, he came to the that was pretty cool. How'd you do that? Did you?
I hit a voice thing and I forgot to turn it off.
Well, keep it on and say some more stuff because it hits for me.
Super gay.
How many more of those you got?
Off in your Kellogg's.
Are you slowing down the words that you're saying, and then that because that's also part of it?
Yeah, I'm kind of doing a bit because if I talk normal, it would be like this, but I wanted to be like jack off in your Kellogg's, you sinners.
Just making sure. What else you got over there? What other voices can you slide into?
We're not gay. You're the gayfer.
So you got the high end and the low end. Is it just a spectrum? Like you can just dial it up or down?
Yeah,
is that all it is?
No, there's two buttons. There's voice disguise, and then there's pitch up, and then here's monster, which I don't know what that is. Ask me a question that a monster would answer.
How do you feel about brains?
I want to eat them. I want to eat them and shove them up my butthole and taste them with my anus.
Yeah, that was pretty demonic.
I've got taste buds in my anus.
It's funny because shoving things up butts will come up a little bit later too, because like
it's gay.
It's not gay, but it's also like it's wild how that like hits. Like meaning you know why shoving stuff up your butt? Like, and I'm talking like boofing stuff,
medicinal reasons,
suppositories.
Yeah.
You know why that hits?
Because your anus glands are the quickest to absorb things and get into your bloodstream.
I think that may be part of it, but it's also when you do it that way, it like skips the liver.
Yeah.
So like when stuff that hits gets to your liver's like, oh,
so it's healthy.
This hits too hard, it's going to kill us. I got to make this hit less, and that's what your liver does to try to keep you alive. Well, if you shove it up your butt, you take the lip, you cut out the middleman.
Will it affect hangovers? Like if you shove booze in your butt, will it affect your hangover better?
I don't know. What I do know is it'll kill you much quicker.
I got a funnel in time, baby.
Very little, comparatively little will kill you dead. But more on that later. While this dude was dealing with these temperance people, and decided
temperance has never hit.
No, never once. And while he was in there, he realized it wasn't just booze; that also meat was a spur to gluttony and corrupted the body and soul, and was harmful to families and society. So it's like he ain't give a fuck about animals. Just so everybody knows, like. As far as I can tell, he didn't care about them. You can kill all of them. He didn't give a shit. It's just that he thought that eating meat, poisoned your soul or whatever, got your humors all out of whack. Whatever old timey dumb, past shit it was that he thought. He also denounced the use of chemical additives in food and bread. Right. Which like back then they were, dude, just before the EPA. So we'll get back there pretty soon, but they used to like stretch flour and stuff with like chalk and plaster of Paris and all this type of
baby laxatives.
He wasn't entirely wrong about all that. Like people were doing some shit with their bread and all kinds of stuff because we didn't have any regulations at the time. So, like other members of the temperance movement, he also viewed physical pleasure and especially sexual stimulation with suspicion because these things excited lust, which led to behavior that harmed people and society. All right. He believed people should only eat plants like Adam and Eve did in the Garden of Eden. And that plague and illness were brought on by living against the natural law, against the natural order of things. So he created a theology and a diet aimed at keeping people pure and healthy, drinking pure water and eating an entirely vegetarian diet anchored by bread made at home from flour coarsely ground so that it remained wholesome and natural with no added spices or other stimulants. So, like, it wasn't just vegetables and bread. It was completely unseasoned vegetables and bread and, like, room temperature water, right? It also included or prescribed like sleeping on a hard bed and taking cold baths.
This guy was just like, hey, if it hits, don't do it.
Don't do it. If it hits, don't do it. Which I feel like a lot of people have landed on that over the years. But
Catholicism.
He's like really taking it to the next step. But he thought that if you adhered to this diet and this lifestyle of rigorous not hitting, that this would keep people from having impure thoughts and in turn would stop masturbation, which he thought made you blind and killed you early.
See, I've got a problem with that because let me say something right now. If I had to live that lifestyle, if I had to live a lifestyle where not only can I not eat meat, but I also can't season my vegetables, and also I have to sleep on a hard bed, and also I have to eat the most bland bread ever, I believe at some point I would reach the conclusion that, man, at least I could jack off.
Yep, but no, it was not to be. But because bread was such a shitty, not hitting, totally unseasoned bread. Was
leavened
such a
or unleavened, you reckon?
It says he used brewer's yeast. So I guess
that's
it was leavened. It was leavened.
Leavened,
at least,
the leavened is what does it.
Yeah, it definitely does.
I get why Jews are mad sometimes. You know what I mean? Because unleavened bread ain't it.
Yeah. Plus, everybody trying to kill them all the time and blaming them for stuff. But
probably over their bread.
Yeah, but he published a book in 1837 called A Treatise on Bread and Bread Making. Chapter 1. Make sure it don't hit. Here's how. But for some reason, again, I'll never understand the past because like this like caught on like wildfire. Like people are like, oh, that's what's up. And it became known. It was a movement called Grahamism.
What year is this?
1830s.
Back then, if you had a book, it had to be good. You know what I mean?
So
like,
people started making Graham flour and they started making things and calling it Graham just to sell it. And he didn't have anything to do with any of it, including Graham crackers, which I believe initially they didn't hit. And then somebody came along just like Kellogg's brother and was like, you know what would be better is if these hit. And we should put sugar and stuff on them. And then they did. And then all of a sudden, you know, they became a cultural mainstay.
Jacking off and going to hell.
Well, yeah, that too, but at least the crackers hit. But anyway, this was his whole thing. It's the people. Then they built entire boarding houses for his Grahamites, right? Grahamite boarding houses were established in the 1830s, and everybody that lived there applied
spelled
Boreding. Shoo-wee, ain't that true? But they applied these principles to everyday life. They took cold baths only. They slept on hard mattresses. They kept the windows open. They ate a vegetarian diet centered around Graham bread and drank only cold water. Animal flesh was banned, but they did allow eggs at breakfast. So at least you had eggs.
Was the cold showers a boner thing too, you think?
Yeah, probably. Just anything that hit, warm showers hit. You can't.
They do hit. And I mean, cold showers sometimes hit. Like if you every now and then, and I don't mean for the entire length of the time, but like every now and then, like, me and you both are this way. No one would think to look at us, but we do exercise a lot, both of us. Yeah. Like we are both very active people who just look like we're not active. And so I'll go on a jog on a hot day, and when I come home, I'll jump in a cold shower, but just for the initial oomph, and then I immediately turn it to hot because I'm not a serial killer. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I've heard people do it the opposite way, where it's like you take a hot shower and right before you get out, you turn it down to cold and just zap yourself and then get out.
Yeah, and there's something to be said for that. But all I'm saying is like a pure all the way cold shower is insane to me.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, no, it don't hit.
It's the warm that do it.
So he had all these people living like monks for no goddamn reason, just so their dicks don't get hard or whatever. And they were all
Why don't they just cut their dicks off?
Yeah, I don't know. That's a good question. Does that be all Chinesey, I guess,
Well, they still have to procreate. They still have to have one
that
sex
is true.
one time to make a
fruitful
child
and multiply. Yeah, you're right. You just got to keep that dick beat into submission otherwise. But anyway, he lived his life like this. Then at the age of 57 years old,
he hung himself.
In 1850, no, it's funnier than that. I said this would come up again. He died of complications after receiving opium enemas at the direction of his doctor. So this dude was like, you can't eat meat, you can't drink no booze, you can't even take a hot shower, and then he was shoving heroin up his butt and killed himself with it. But boofing heroin is what's up. It does say that he was directed by his doctor because also like old
doctors
Kellogg,
didn't know.
No, they didn't know anything. Again, it's like you got ghost in your blood. You know what I mean? Shove this heroin up your butt. Maybe that'll hit.
And I bet it did right before he died.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
But
some people said, and I guess this is disputed, it's not known whether this is true or not, but some people reported that he actually, right before he died, because it's like, it's like bloodletting or something like that, where it's like, it's not working. Make him bleed more, for God's sakes. It's like, shove
what's
more
all that in there for?
Shove more opium up his butt. He's getting worse, And anyway, it was reported that by some people that right before he died from a opium butthole overdose, that he violated it is in his last moments. He violated his own strictures.
Yeah.
By taking liquor and meat in a last desperate attempt to recover his health.
Death row meal.
I guess he was like, what if I was wrong about all this? Like, I'm about to die. It's like, bring me a steak and some whiskey.
That's the equivalent of and it's getting like, saved in a foxhole.
But it's also like, it is funny. Like, on the one hand, it's like he betrayed his own principles right there on his deathbed. And I'm sure that don't hit for his followers and whatnot. But it's also like the idea of him getting it and just being like, oh my God, this hit so hard.
What could I have done?
Like, I'm 57 years old and I just ain't been doing this and I'm going to die anyway with opium up my butt.
Like, imagine
I just chose not to do all this. Like, good Lord.
Like, imagine being 85 years old and you're on dialysis and they take you to hospital and like you just have this weird thought. You're like, I'm going to have gay sex because I've never done it before in my life. And you do it and it's the greatest thing in the whole world. And there as the DMT slowly seeps into your brain and you lose complete consciousness, you realize that you lived such a half-life because you could have done all of those things. And like, I don't understand, man, where like, you know, it's so cliche to be like everything in moderation, even moderation, but like there's no type of fundamentalist teetotaler, whether it be of alcohol or whether it be of meat or whether it be of whatever. And I'm sure I'm going to get some shit for this, but like, I'm here to tell you, as much as I don't know about the world, I do know this. You're wrong. You are so wrong. And you need to understand that you're wrong.
Yeah. You mean that stuff hits and you should let it hit?
Hits and try it, and if it don't hit for you, that's fine that it don't hit for you, but you shouldn't base a way of life because it don't hit for me, therefore no one ever should do this. Like, that's stupid. Like, they're lying to you about cholesterol, they're lying to you about me. Don't go crazy, don't eat a ribeye every goddamn day for the love of God, but like for Pete's sake, everybody, it doesn't. James Gregory used to have a bit where he was like, do you know how many, because James Gregory ate every day, was a fat, he's like, do you know how many joggers I've been a pallbearer for? You know what I mean? Like, I'm not saying don't try, but like, you're not eating a pack of sour Skittles isn't going to kill you, bruh.
So Sylvester Graham influenced John Harvey Kellogg, who came later, right? And he founded the Battle Creek Sanitarium and then later made cornflakes to keep kids from jacking off or whatever. But like, he did a lot of wild shit at that sanitarium. Like, because of first of all, and I preface this by saying I have not. Have you seen the movie The Road to Wellville?
No, I've never even heard of it.
I've heard. I remember we had it in the video store. It came out in the 90s.
Let me write it down.
I kind of want to watch it. I never saw it either, but I kind of want to watch it because it's about.
Let's watch it for next week.
Sir Anthony Hopkins plays John Harvey Kellogg.
The Road to Wellville?
Yeah. That's it, right? Yeah, The Road to Wellville.
Well, if Anthony Hopkins is in it, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, although he did play a black man in a movie called The Human Stain once, and I don't know
that he crushed.
Holds up. I'm sure he did crush. I'm sure
that's
you're
the
right,
thing.
But
you know, there can be bad movies, but there's never bad performances from some people. And it was called
true.
The Stain on America. About
The Human Stain.
Oh,
is called The Human Stain. But anyway, even though an opium enema killed Sylvester Graham, which that's another thing, dude. Like, after a whole life of not hitting at all, he went out hitting at a really high level. Meaning, like, he's got all this opium shoved up his butt. So, like,
can't be wrong.
He's got to be feeling pretty good.
So good. Oh, dude, have you ever done opium?
While eating a steak and drinking whiskey.
Yeah.
With opium shoved up your ass. It's like, shit, kill me that way. Whenever I'm on my way out.
That's how Curly Bill lived in Tombstone.
That's how I want to go out. Now that I think about it. Like,
have you ever done opium?
No. think I had the chance to once at Bonnaroo, but I didn't do it.
Oh,
I mean, I've done pills, obviously.
Yeah, and it's
and
close,
I love
but
kratom.
opium is very immediate, and you can like feel the Chinesiness of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's just, the Chinese, man, they got good ideas when it comes to a lot of stuff. Noodles, opium, hats. I'm a really big fan of their hats. Moo-moos, I like those. They're a good time.
So even though an opium enema killed his idol, Sylvester Graham, John Harvey Kellogg loved enemas. Like he was a big proponent of enemas. He had a whole section of the Battle Creek Sanitarium, which was just like the enema room. And his were like souped up, high powered enemas.
Yeah, B12.
Like a standard. No, I just mean that a standard enema at the time would involve a pint or two of liquid up your butt. He had machines capable of pumping 15 quarts of water a minute into a patient's ass. He also advocated for yogurt enemas in his Isn't
that hilarious?
Clinics.
The same dude that would be like, jacking off's a sin. Hey, get in here and shove this up my ass.
Yeah, right, yeah, right, exactly. Yes, exactly. It's
crazy.
Very funny.
It's crazy.
But yeah, he there was a dude, he also liked this dude named Horace Fletcher who advised people to chew every bite of food they took at least 40 times before swallowing it.
I remember that guy, and I like that.
Have you tried that?
Yeah, I don't do
like
it.
People
I just
hear
like
about
it.
that at some point in their lives, and it's like, depending on what you're eating, I feel like you just can't.
Yeah, that's one of those monkey do what I say, not as I do, because now that I have a kid, like I'm really like I wish that Bane did that. You know what I mean? Even though I know it's not practical, because I'm so worried that he's gonna choke to death. But like,
oh yeah,
I do think like 40 times or whatever, but like I am always stressing the importance of chewing your food, just because you've seen me almost choke. You've seen me almost choke a lot. And so I try to beat it into him of like, chew, 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 chew. Like I'll baby bird him if I have to.
This is one of those things. It's like, I don't understand how this dude became a guru the way that he did. This sanitarium that he ran was huge.
People were started back then, dude.
I know, but like there's no, like if you came in there with a vision problem, he would just apply an electrical current directly to your eyeballs. It just
why not?
Shot. Because it
if
work.
If your heart don't work, your heart don't work, you electrocute it. Why not think about it with your eyeball? I'm not saying I'm just saying I get the thought.
That? How many times do you do that before it don't? Before that's what I mean. Is like,
it should be twice and then you quit. It should be twice and then you quit.
How do you how do you garner a massive a cult following or whatever doing a bunch of shit that never work?
I'm telling you, man, like if you got a book published back then, people really did just believe that that you had, like nowadays anybody can publish a book, so it's whatever. But like back then, like that's all that you needed to do was like have one stamp of approval from somebody, and everybody was like, this is the goddamn gospel, man. Like we would have crushed back then.
One of his treatments for chronic diarrhea was to take a days-long bath, which like sounds to me
in the tub.
Yeah, that ain't you just stewing in your own poop water.
Yeah,
it says that they were allowed to get out and use the bathroom, but it's just like you just sit in a bathtub naked.
What was the thought process that like the water would slowly go up in your butt and mix with the diarrhea and dilute it?
Buddy, who the hell knows? But anyway, he devoted much of his life to fighting what he called the solitary vice, the quote, vile practice of masturbation. Because Kellogg thought that masturbation led to poor digestion, memory loss, impaired vision, heart disease, epilepsy, and insanity.
I've got all those, so I can't deny them.
Well, it's funny that there were doctors in this time who were like, jacking off will make a boy go insane. But then it's like when a woman comes in crying because she gets beaten every other day for not cooking right or whatever. Exactly. They're like, this bitch is crazy. Finger her right now. Stat. 2 fingers. Stat.
I guess it's like
it was just so... just nothing but lunatics back in the day, I guess.
I guess it's like there has to be a healthy medium. They're like, if boys could just jack off once a month, it would be fine. But we know that they can't. Like, once they learn about this, they're going to do it all the time, where women seem to have a touch of discretion about it, where, like, you know, if a woman, now I don't know this for a fact, but like, it seems like a woman, when they do that to themselves, it's all so pre-planned. It's like they're at work and they're like, you know what, tonight I'm going to make a bubble bath. I'm going to go get that toy that I've had in my closet for a while, and I'm going to throw on some Yanni, and I'm going to start reading this book where this man mounts a stallion and takes over this blah, blah, blah. There's like so much forethought that goes into a woman flicking her bean, whereas the dude would have just already jacked off at work. You know what I mean? Like, they have more like I know that I'm not trying to put down any proud slut out there, because I know that you're out there and you have every right to do it. There's dirty whores, and thank God for you. I know there's women listening to this going like, I flicked my bean 5 times today. But for the most part, I don't think that's the general consensus. Like, men will do it anywhere at any time, but women need to have the mood set, so therefore it's not as much of a problem. And it could be said that for what is true about a boy, that he's up because he jacks off too much, the opposite could be said for this woman just needs to jack off.
Yeah, but he didn't. Kellogg, it didn't hit for him when women got up to it either. It turns out masturbation of either side. Dude, he'd put like cages on dicks and stuff to keep them from jacking off, but it was a lot worse for women, as everything was in the past.
A chastity sleeve
for, like, you asking for a woman
for a wiener. He'd put on a wiener.
Yeah, like a cage. Yeah, but he also sometimes prescribed circumcision without anesthetic. So,
dude, that's a whole other can of worms. Like,
sure is. And for women, they put like carbolic acid on their clitorises and stuff. So pretty gnarly, pretty not cool of old.
What
Dr.
year was
Kellogg.
this? Do you know?
Late 1800s,
right? Before they got the right to vote. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, this is. I never knew this, but like, apparently Kellogg also, in the early 20th century, he tried to develop a like Impossible Burger Beyond Meat type thing called Protos. Like,
I bet it didn't hit.
He made a fake meat that was made out of like vegetable products.
I got to tell you,
I had no idea they were doing that 100 years ago. You know,
I didn't either.
It kind of blows my mind.
And we still ain't got them completely figured out, so there's no way that one was good.
But dude, some of them ones I got now are pretty wild.
Couldn't agree more, dude. And this is we're not sponsored by this company, so I'm not going to say the name of it specifically. But when I was at Disney World, they had one of those type meatloafs. And I had just got a bad cholesterol report, so I was like, this is part of my meal plan. It's not like I'm spending money I hadn't already spent. I'll try it out. And like, not only was it like, I kind of can't tell, it was good. Like, I liked it. Like, if it had been served to me not under those pretenses, I would have truly believed that it was meatloaf. And while maybe it has its own problems, if true that like, it really is just like, hey, this is an alternative to it. Like, I could get behind that. I have no problem with that. They're doing really good stuff with it right now.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I mean, I've said for you, even not just those, but like
lab grown.
The idea of lab grown meat, bring it on. I don't.
I'm for it. As long as it is meat.
I tried to make this bit for a while. Maybe I'll try to bring it back. It didn't like not hit. It just didn't hit to my satisfaction about how like I eat Taco Bell and I grew up eating potted meat and that type of stuff.
That ain't
it's
real.
Like the garbage that I put in. It's like, you think I'm gonna have a problem with a pork chop grown in a laboratory? I don't give a fuck.
Right.
Like,
no, if I can make a difference and it still tastes really good, of course I'm going to do that. But my problem is like, I'm not willing to make a difference unless it is basically exactly the thing I want. And I don't feel guilty about that. Like, I like a steak. Not one part of me when I eat a rare ribeye is going, I'm so glad that this came from a cow that died. If you got me one that was a complete copy that I would have no knowledge that it wasn't, yes, that would hit for me. I would love to do that, but it needs to be the same because I love meat. I love it.
Me too. So, you know that classic, like an old time, like, okay, when you think of like an old timey gym or the equivalent or old timey,
the people doing this with
let me see what you're doing.
Hold on, the band around there.
Exactly. That's exactly what I figured and hoped you would say. That was invented by John Harvey Kellogg. Apparently, he came up with that. But he had another treatment for being FDDH, though, besides just wrapping the bands around them and shaking your fat away. He had another machine called the percussion machine that you just stand your fat ass in front of, and these two like robot arms just take turns punching you in the gut over and over again.
That might work.
How is that going to work?
Well, because
he said it dislodged the fat from your body, and then I guess you poop it out or something.
So
that's
it's
what
not
he thought
the
would
actual.
happen, but
so it's not the actual hitting of you that would be doing the work. It's
you tensing up every time.
It's you tensing up. It's the natural inclination for you to tense up because that does work your muscle. Like there actually is science to be proven of like, you know, my personal trainer, Robbie, which you can get services at UncleBod.com. He had told me when I was on the road, like when I was back in really, really good shape and I already had, and this only works if you already have like muscles that are working. But he was talking about like if you're ever in a situation where you don't have access to weights and you don't even have access to bands or whatever, you can get a decent workout by just taking your biceps and just flexing them, like just by flexing them and putting that resistance on them because you're still putting resistance on them. So like there is something to be said about if something was punching at you and you were naturally retracting your abdominal muscles, that it is getting them a workout, you know. Now, I'm not saying it's a great one, but like there, and I don't think that he thought that far ahead. I'm sure in his brain, he thought the punching was actually going to do it, but it is the restriction. It is the stretching of the muscle that like in theory that could work.
Okay, it's dumb and don't hit, but anyway.
Couldn't agree more. I'm just telling you that in theory there is something to be said for it.
How many times there's something to be said for that? Like how many times you think you'd have to tense up versus like the opportunity cost of getting punched in the stomach that whole time versus just doing sit-ups or running or something?
No. I'm not saying
I know, but
great.
I'm saying it's like what doesn't work? Anything that the efficacy of something like that has got to be so low that it's essentially worthless. Even if
I'm not denying that it's not great, but it's not worthless because worthless would mean it's doing nothing. It's doing little, but it is doing something. You know what I mean? Like I'm just saying that like there is science to back up just flexing those muscles is a workout. It's not a great workout. And again, the point is that he did not know the things that I'm telling you right now. So it was based in nothing. In his mind, it was a miracle cure-all of you don't have to do anything. This will just work. But by tensing up your muscles, that does work out your muscles. Essentially how like when you do a sit-up, there's no weight transference. It's just you compressing your muscles. You know what I mean? So again, dude, dumb, but like there is
you're
science.
Lifting that's a
your body weight
exercise.
Your body weight,
right.
sure.
So there is still resistance.
Yeah.
You know,
I'm not saying it's not dumb. I'm just saying that it doesn't do nothing. It just does very little.
I'm saying it does close enough to nothing that you could essentially call it nothing.
No, I agree with you, but the point here is what I was trying to say is you have to already have muscles for it to even matter. It won't build muscles, but if you already have muscles, it can tense them up and continue their maintenance. It's a maintenance thing, not a growth thing. That's just science. I think I speak for myself. I definitely speak for Trae when I say that most clothes don't look good on us. And that's not normally clothes' fault. It's just that we don't hit. But True Classics make even us look like we hit. All right. It has the great fit to it. They're not too big. They're not too tight. They are versatile enough for everything on the agenda this fall. I love True Classic because not only can I get my sweet t-shirts, they got polos. They got the pants are my favorite. I don't know if they want me to say a favorite thing, but the pants are the most comfortable lounging pants I've ever had. They also have like this tailored fit. So when I wear them to the grocery store, people aren't looking at me like I'm in pajamas or something like that. And yes, people have complimented me. My wife actually did. My wife goes, I came in the other day wearing my black jogger pants, and she goes, oh my God, she goes, Corey, first off, you don't need new pants. I've told you a million times you've got plenty of pants. However, I got to tell you, those look really good. Where did you get those? And I was like, well, hey, baby, you ain't got to worry about it. I didn't buy them. Actually, my friends from True Classics sent them to me. And not only did they send me these completely free, they've given me a discount code. So if you like these, I can get more at a discount rate. They are the best-selling t-shirts, hoodies, jeans, and more. They got 3 and 6 and 9 packs. They're premium products at an affordable price. Shirts that define your best features with a perfect fit, snug in the arms and chest so you look jacked, but just the right amount of room in the midsection so they're not crumpling up on us and making you look like me and Trae, where you're just like, ugh, everything was fine until I got down there. Ugh, gross. What's the problem? This guy should only be filmed from the neck up. Corey and Trae, that is. Fall and winter must-haves, long-sleeve Henleys, waffle hoodies, jeans, button-ups, joggers, and more. Trae, tell them more about our friends over at True Classics.
Yeah, I'm wearing my pants right now. If you can see that, it just looks like a leg in a pair of pants, but it's my True Classic pants here. They look like jeans, but they feel like dreams. That's what it is.
Yeah, they do.
Look like jeans feel like dreams. I just came up with that right off the top of my head. But they are very comfortable, and since I've decided that these hit for me, what this means is I'm going to wear these pants every day for the next 6 months at least, probably without washing them that whole time, because that's what I do when pants hit for me. So, yeah, thank you, True Classic, for that. Like Joe said, all these best-selling options come in packs of 3, 6, 9. Damn, you fine when you wear True Classic. That's right. You can mix and match all their clothing to work with your lifestyle, working out or going to going out on a date or the office or whatever. They got what you need. 100% perfect fit guarantee with easy returns. Trusted by over 4 million customers with 200,000 plus reviews. True Classics ultra comfortable, perfect fitting essentials make for the perfect gift for the men in your life. And it's a good time for it because the holidays are here. And True Classics ultra comfortable, perfect fitting essentials, like I said, make for the perfect gift for you and all the men in your life. So if you're ready to upgrade your closet, shop now and unlock big savings during their huge holiday sale. Just go to our exclusive link at trueclassic.com/POA to save. That's trueclassic.com/POA. Please support our show and tell them we sent you. End the year with holiday cheer thanks to True Classic. Does it.
I got to tell everybody about this game-changing product that me and you both have used before a night out with drinks, and it's called pre-alcohol. That's right. I'm talking about our friends over at Z-Biotics. Let's face it, after a night with drinks, I don't bounce back the next day like I used to. I have to make a choice. I can either have a great night or a great next day. Some people have put it towards you where it's like, when you drink, you're just borrowing happiness from the next day. And I find that to be true. But there is a surefire way to wake up feeling fresh after a night of drinking, and it is with pre-alcohol. Pre-alcohol probiotic drink from Z-Biotics is the world's first genetically engineered probiotic. It was invented by PhD scientists to tackle rough mornings and drinking. Here's how it works. When you drink, alcohol gets converted into a toxic byproduct in the gut. It's this byproduct, not just dehydration, that's to blame for your rough next day. Pre-alcohol produces an enzyme to break down this byproduct, okay? So just remember, make Z-Biotics your first drink of the night, and then, still drink responsibly. You can't be like Nikki Sixx and be drinking Bacardi 151 out of a fire hose all night and expect miracles to happen, but do your best, still have a good time, and you're going to feel your best tomorrow. Trae, tell everybody about the first time me and you tried this and were absolutely blown away.
I don't remember where we're at because everything's a blur for me on the road because we get drunk so much. That's why this product is so perfect for us. But I do remember it came to us and we said, okay, this sounds like something that could hit. We took a
We
little
didn't
shot.
believe it, though, by the way. I will be forthright in saying we were like, okay, I'm skeptical.
Well, I wasn't even going to say that, but he is right. We were skeptical because, again, we be experienced drunks. We took a big shot of it. Went out, had our hit summits as we do, red wine on ice, box after box, amongst just the two of us, staining our shirts and our teeth and our futures, as we are wont to do with the red wine. Then go to bed, pass out more like, wake up the next day, feeling infinitely better than we usually would. Typically, I wake up on the verge of death, feeling like a rat shit in my mouth. But after a night with Z-Biotics, I just felt, like my regular miserable self, not like my hungover, truly miserable self. I felt actually kind of good.
They're not miracle workers,
Right. Yeah. I just mean like I felt the way I do on a normal day.
Yeah.
Without any boozing,
64% versus 22.
Yeah. So, did hit for me.
Yeah, hit for me too. And I kept hearing about pre-alcohol and wondered what it was actually like. And now that I've tried it, I get why everyone is talking about it. And with their GMO technology, Z-Biotics is continuing to invent probiotics that will help with everyday challenges of modern living. Go to zbiotics.com/POA to learn more and get 15% off your first order when you use POA at checkout. Z-Biotics is backed with 100% money back guarantee. So if you're unsatisfied, you wake up and you're like, wait a minute, I don't hit. They'll refund your money. No questions asked. Remember to head to zbiotics.com/POA. Use the code POA at checkout for 15% off. All right. Wonderful stuff.
They say first impressions are important. What about lasting impressions? That's where Blue Chew comes in. She'll remember your wiener forever. That's right. Blue Chew helps give men longer lasting and stronger erections so you can perform at your very best. You'll be telling all the girls around the table with their Cosmos at the whatever they do on them Sex in the City type girl dates that they do. They talk about wieners a lot, it seems like. Well, your girl will be telling them about your wiener and how hard it hits and how hard it was and how hard it stays because of Blue Chew. Blue Chew is an online service that delivers the same active ingredients as Viagra, Cialis, and Levitra, but at a fraction of the cost and in a chewable form. The process is simple. Sign up at BlueChew.com, consult with one of their licensed medical providers, and once you're approved, you receive your prescription within days. That's the best part of it all. It's done on the internet there, which means no more visits to the doctor's office, no more awkward wiener conversations, no more waiting in line at the pharmacy, running into your old high school baseball coach. Blue Chew's tablets are made right here in the US of A, prepared and shipped directly to your door, and you can take them anytime, day or night. So you can plan ahead to get down, or you can be ready to get down whenever an opportunity comes up. Joe, tell them more.
Love it. A lot of people ask me, does it work? And I'm like, oh my God, it makes my dick harder than sitting through an episode of Girls with my wife. You understand what I'm saying? Hey-o, try it for a month and see. You're going to love it. Your partner's going to love it. I know my wife does. Our favorite time of the month is when that little discreet white envelope shows up in the mailbox, because we know that even though it's harder when you have kids to make time we shall, and it is about to go down. With Blue Chew, men everywhere are excited to see the postman. They say there's nothing sexier than confidence. I would maintain that perhaps it's a G-string on a nude beach, but a lot of people say that there's nothing sexier than confidence, and Blue Chew can help give you that confidence where it counts. Blue Chew wants to help you have the confidence to perform at your best, so discover your options at BlueChew.com. And we got a special deal for our listeners. Try Blue Chew for free, absolutely free, when you use our promo code POA at checkout. Just pay $5 shipping. That's BlueChew.com, promo code POA to receive your first month free. Visit BlueChew.com for more details and important safety information. And we thank Blue Chew for sponsoring the podcast. And
get you a new dick.
Get you a new dick, everybody. All right.
I mean, I really wanted to talk about Sylvester Graham and his graham crackers and how they wouldn't hit for him and how he was wild and died with hair on up his butt. But that led naturally into talking about Kellogg, who is also pretty wild.
Can I talk about something?
Obviously. Yeah, you don't have you ain't got nothing for this week in fancy for us? No I don't updates?
Have it. Yeah, kind of. This week in fancy, just because it's in the news right now because of several documentaries. I'll be honest with you, Trae. Like, this week I was a little thrown off because it's been election week, and I had to I had to be a beat reporter last night for the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. Like, I had to keep up with stuff and send in quotes, so it sort of fucked me up. But one thing that I've been wanting to talk about that even though this happened 30 some odd years ago, this week in fancy, it's back in the news. The Menendez brothers are back in the news because there's been several documentaries. There's been several interviews given with these guys who are now in their 50s, and some new light has been shed on not only their prosecution, but due to what happened that night and what the motives are. And I want to make a blanket statement right now that might shock a lot of people, and it might shock you. Those boys do not deserve to be in prison. Thoughts?
Well, okay. I'm not a true crime person at all. My wife is.
You love false crime.
I love false crime. I've never a true crime. I've never liked it. So I don't know any of the details of the Menendez brothers at all. I just know that they were like rich kids who killed their parents, right? And they were they were famously courtside at a Lakers game or something like that.
Yeah, they're in a card.
Yeah, somebody's card. You could see them sitting there. Yeah. That's really all I know. So I don't know the specifics of what did or did not happen. So I can't really comment on whether or not they should be in prison. But I mean, I thought they were viewed with infamy. You know what I mean?
They are.
I thought, and you're saying that's unfair? You do this sometimes. We were talking about how John Wilkes Booth he hit, and
no. I said John Wilkes Booth hit as an actor. I said John Wilkes Booth hit as an actor. Yeah. What I said was,
there was other things too.
Omar Gaddafi.
Yeah, that's what it was. Yeah, Gaddafi.
And by the way, I've since retracted that. Retracted that. But my John Wilkes Booth thing was, I maintain that he's a better actor than people give him credit for, but I still hold him responsible for the heinous acts that he committed. That was just something that I find insane in today's culture, is that when someone does something horrible, people try to erase any type of decent thing they ever did as if it didn't happen. And I think that is irresponsible, because it implies that it lets talented people off the hook, because it implies that if you're talented, you could never do anything wrong. You know what I mean? And that's just not true. Talented people do bad things all the time, and there's no reason for us to be like, well, they did this bad thing, therefore that movie that we all loved, it technically sucked. That's not right. And I think we did that with John Wilkes Booth. The Omar Gaddafi, yeah, dude, I was very misled. I saw a Reddit post. Anyways, with the Menendez brothers, I am not off. These boys do not deserve to be in prison. They are not the monsters that America has painted out them to be. And they were victims not only of an abusive household, but they were actually victims of just circumstances, and it was wrong place, wrong time. Okay. So the Menendez brothers, as everybody knows, is just, these are two rich kids from Beverly Hills who murdered their parents. And that's all anybody needed to know. I mean, when you say that, you go, oh, wow, they stood to inherit $14 million. Well, that's why they did it. No problem. Case closed. They're both good-looking kids. One of them wanted to go on to be a tennis star. After this murder, they go out and buy a bunch of Rolexes and stuff. Case closed. It's very clear. Well, what a lot of people failed to realize, and this is because there were two court hearings, and they suffered from the fact that there were two court hearings, because the second court hearing is the only thing that really made it into the public knowledge, and really is the only thing that swayed the jury. Okay. Every single testimony given for Mr. Menendez, the father, the prosecutors against the Menendez brothers were like, we're going to bring in character witnesses to show how good of a man their father was and why this was such a heinous crime. Trae, they couldn't find one. Every single person they bring to the trial to speak on Mr. Menendez's behalf, in other words, saying like, talk about how these kids, every single one of them, close personal friends that knew him, said, this guy was a huge piece of shit. He sucked. And it later comes out, by the way, that he was sexually abusing one of the Menendez brothers, not both of them, by the way, which that was a contention between them, that one of them was low key in a very depraved way, a little jealous because why would my daddy do this to him and not me? Right. Their father was a bigwig in Hollywood. He was like a casting agent. Coincidentally, by the way, because I know I don't have a tremendous amount of time here. Coincidentally, Lyle Menendez, who they were in separate cells after this trial. Lyle Menendez was in the same cell as O.J. Simpson because the O.J. Simpson case happened 5 months after this trial. Lyle Menendez and O.J. Simpson are in the same celebrity wing, and they knew each other because Lyle Menendez's father actually hired OJ for all of those famous Hertz commercials, right? So we're talking about an extremely, extremely small world. Their father beat their mother. Their father beat them. Their father sexually abused the one and threatened that if anyone told, he would kill them. These boys feared for their lives, and finally they couldn't take it anymore, and they killed the dad, and they also killed the mom because they had told the mom about this several times, and she said, you can't say anything, you don't know what he's going to do, shut up and just be a good boy, right? Well, none of that is really released to the public because that was all in the first trial. Well, that first trial ends up becoming a mistrial. There's a mistrial because all the corroborating witnesses screwed up or whatever, and they have to have a mistrial. And then they go to this second trial where they have to have different jurors. And then, by the way, in between that first trial and the second trial, the O.J. Simpson trial had happened, where famously everyone knew O.J. Simpson was guilty, but they let him off. And this judge, feeling so much pressure, was like, we can't let this happen again. We can't let these rich kids get off. Even though we know all this stuff, we can't let these rich kids get off because there's so much blood in the street, and we have to make an example of this. And so much of that testimony from their therapists, from the old character witnesses, was not put back into the trial. And this trial essentially was a makeup for the mishandle of justice that O.J. Simpson went through. That is my theory on that. And in the first trial, by the way, manslaughter was on the table. There was manslaughter on the table. There was involuntary manslaughter. There was manslaughter. There was manslaughter too, because the lawyer was arguing. They were like, yes, it's true that they killed this man and they killed the mom, but you have to understand that they were fearing for their lives. So it wasn't necessarily premeditated. And in this state, if you fear for your life, it's not murder one. It's a completely different thing. And because those were all on the table, that's why the jury could never come to a conclusion on anything. This jury was half women and half men. And surprisingly, the men all were like, they did it them, and the women had more empathy because back in this time, the men didn't believe that the boy could be sexually molested by the father because that can't happen to boys, right? Well, then they get a mistrial, and when they go to the second trial, murder one is the only thing on the table. So the only thing these jurors have to deliberate about is, did they or did they not do it? And everyone knew that they did it. But earlier you had the option of, yes, they did it, but which one should we charge them with? In the second trial, it was just, did they do it or did they not do it? And the boys have already admitted to doing it. So there's absolutely no way for them to get out of it. So these two boys, one of whom was sexually molested by their very powerful father and silenced, ended up serving way too long in jail because of a mistrial and because of the ramifications of the OJ trial. I close my case.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, you know, obviously their dad was a huge piece of shit and all that, and I know that the mom was complacent, but I have to assume she was probably pretty much a victim too, I would think.
I'm sure she was.
Of that dude. So the fact that they murdered them both, especially considering her mom, like, I do think they ought to have gone to prison. Now,
agreed, but not should still be in there.
I think 30 years or whatever we're at now, and they're in their 50s. I feel like if they were let out now, that would be pretty much fine. Now, of course, the way American prisons work, they may be far more monstrous now than when they went in, because that's how prisons work in this country. But yeah, I feel like that's, pretty fair. What they've done is enough considering the circumstances of what went down. There was some other kid that didn't get near as famous. He wasn't like a rich Beverly Hills kid or whatever, but he like killed his parents and then had a party that night, like while his parents were.
You can't do that.
No, that ain't it. Like, I think he just wanted to have a party and they wouldn't let him, so he just killed them both. And then he locked them in their room, their bodies in the room, and had everybody over and was just partying shit anyway while his parents rotted in a room. I always have to tell myself when something like that happens that those parents had to have been terrible, because I don't want to believe that it's possible for something like that to happen otherwise. But every now and then it does still, the whole bad seed argument. Some kids just turn out evil, and that shit makes me lose sleep at night. Although I'm getting into the teen years now, and I feel like if mine were going to be evil, I'd be seeing signs of it. So
yeah, I definitely agree with that. I worry about
still be huge, eventually, and that worries me too. But everything.
Yeah, I worry about Bane in that sense. Like, I've got a bit right now about how, you always go, oh, well, just raise your kids right and they'll be fine. And I'm like, so many people I know that turned out to be pieces of shit. The one thing they have in common is they have really sweet parents. Like, a lot, I know sometimes that's not true, but I've got a handful of buddies, which is anecdotal evidence.
I think, but still, I'm not saying, I'm not trying to discourage your bid at all, because it may hit for plenty of, but that's another thing that's wild to me about Chickamauga, I guess. Because what I mean is I don't have that experience at all. In fact, I kind of have the opposite. Or first of all, almost none of my friends, from back home, even almost none of us don't come from a broken home, is what I'm trying to say.
Right.
I don't know hardly anybody. I mean, of course I know people, but people I grew up with, almost none of it. Kobe is the only one whose parents weren't divorced. Everybody else's parents were divorced. And it's everybody had one or another good parent. Thank God for my dad. Thompson's mom is an angel, that type of shit. And that was enough basically. But all the people I knew who went off the deep end with pills and really became huge ups, they came from horrific home life situations. So it could not have been more unsurprising. Whereas the people in my school who had stable family, loving family lives or whatever were the goody two shoe Christian girls who they're fine. They didn't get strung out on pills or nothing. I mean, they're real churchy, and the way they are don't hit for me, but they're not drug addicts or criminals or nothing. All the people I know that ended up that way, they come from a place. I don't know anybody who's like that who has good parents, good and loving parents. The only person I even know of, frankly, is Drew's brother, and Drew's brother scares the shit out of me because of that. And I've told Drew that to his face before, but so yeah, but he's the only one.
Well, you see it with serial killers sometimes, there's a couple serial killers. If I think they interviewed Dahmer's parents, and I'm not saying they weren't aloof on some things, but they didn't beat him. They just, I don't know. I just know a handful of people, one of whom just literally got arrested and put in jail for 10 years. And I know his parents, and they may have been enabling to some of his bad behavior a little bit, maybe, but they were good, loving people that didn't always encourage it. And I don't know. I don't know, but with the Menendezes, if there truly was sexual deviancy going on. Like, they deserve to die, and they were scared of him, and there you go. And I didn't know any of that part, because I feel like we do live in a society, especially me and you coming from the places we come from, which is like the South. Nothing ever works out for us, whatever. And we just hear about 2 kids kill their parents in Beverly Hills and they inherit $14 million. Like, our mind's made up. Like, we're like, yeah, they did that for that reason. But I just, listening to these guys talk, hearing their letters, and hearing how the one brother was literally just trying to protect his other brother, they shouldn't still be in jail, and it's a lot more complicated. And I wanted to get into it more, but we're running short on time. But that's just how I feel. Go check out that documentary on the Menendez brothers, because it's just everything's not as it seemed. And also, like, one of them made the point in that interview. He said, if we had committed these crimes 30 years later, I think people would have taken us seriously, because people didn't take that type of stuff seriously in the 90s. Like, nobody, when a boy talks about being sexually molested, everybody just went, well, why didn't you leave? Why didn't you beat your dad's ass or whatever? And like, it's just, not to bring everybody down, but it's just a completely different situation, and just a wild thing of what we're fed in the media not being like the whole thing. But hey, how about some airmail on a lighter note? What do you think about that?
Make a hit. Subject line: shooting birds and shit. Hey fellers, this is Rob coming to you from Mount Airy, North Carolina, aka Mayberry. Obligatory you to that titty mountain town up to the south. I played the email from that other feller from Mount Airy for my wife and son, and now we all can't help but crack up a little every time we see Pilot Mountain from the highway. To be fair, it's quite a nice hike around the titty, but the town can suck a dick. Bit of a bone to pick with Trae regarding the bird hunting bit. You made it sound like pheasant and grouse hunting was a very English fancy pursuit, but there's a long tradition of hunting upland game, birds, i.e. not waterfowl, in America too. Pheasant, grouse, quail, and turkey hunting is pretty awesome, and it's far more accessible to the working class than big hunting game mammals. Pheasants aren't a native species, but they were brought here in the 1880s, but they took our ecosystems quite well and haven't had the negative impacts typically associated with the invasive species. Also, they're absolutely delicious. The ruffed grouse is native and basically looks like a rad miniature turkey and is equally delicious. Bobwhite quail are pretty awesome too, albeit on the smaller side. A half dozen quail thrown in the turkey fryer or smoker is damn fine eating. Sure, there's some rich with fancy bird dogs and all that, but all you really need for a game bird hunting is a license, a shotgun, and a good spot. I'm a generalist hunter, but my papaw is the guy who taught me to hunt and fish, and he was a career factory worker with army tattoos of a pheasant on one arm and a turkey on the other. Deer hunting was a treat, but the bird and small game seasons put a lot of delicious food on the table and in the freezer for not a lot of money. It's also worth noting that the nature of quail and pheasant being ground nesting birds means it's a different type of hunting. No whispering and trying to blend in. You kind of just stomp through a field and rustle them buggers up into flight, then shoot. It's super fun, but it's also how folks like the new Democrat sweetheart Dick Cheney's buddy ended up having to apologize for getting shot in the head. Just wanted to point out that upland bird hunting definitely isn't just for fancy limeys. It's a time-honored hillbilly and redneck tradition, too, which fits the old Venn diagram quite nicely. Stay fancy, Rob. Okay, Rob. All right. So, as I recall, maybe I'm wrong, I have to go back and listen to it. I don't remember ever bringing America up at all. I'm very aware that Americans hunt birds, especially turkey hunting was huge. Where I'm from, game birds, you can shoot them all. I don't give a damn. I'm totally fine with it. I don't, and yeah, I know that
eagle.
Rednecks hunt birds. Well, that's what it was about, was that. Because, I mean, it was a story you sent me, but you weren't here that week. It was me and Travis talking about it.
Yeah, nor did I read it.
It was specifically about owners of big estates in England that charge people money to hunt birds on their estates. It was about those guys shooting eagles and owls and other predator birds to keep them from killing their stock of game birds that people paid them to hunt. And I was talking about how, that don't hit for me. And if I was talking about it in like a rich, limey English way, it's because we were literally talking about English bird hunting estates and the people that own them. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure those people are probably some, landed gentry limey type. But I don't remember America even coming up. I was talking specifically about just in that context. So sorry, I, touched a nerve there or whatever, but misunderstanding is all.
I'm with you, buddy. Subject line, never skip Dick Day. Hey,
this person has seen me live recently.
That's what I figured. Hey, Corey and Trae. Trae, I just wanted to let you know that I was at the show in Appleton last weekend and laughed my ass off. You and Donnie were both great. Oh, you took Donnie with you?
Uh-huh.
Nice. That's a damn good show.
He comes with me a lot. He's weaseled his way in there, Donnie has.
Well, that's good, dude. Donnie's a great man. When I go back on the road, I just started working on a spring tour, and I definitely will snipe Donnie from you for a couple of those if I can.
Thank you.
You and Donnie were both great. I have to say, when you were doing your bit about Morningwood, I thought to myself, is this about to do a Blue Chew ad? Not going to lie, that would have been pretty funny. Anyways, thanks for a great show. You guys were talking about presidents last week. Thought I'd mention that my great-great uncle was Teddy Roosevelt's driver when he got shot in Milwaukee. Roosevelt said to him, "Harry, I've been pinked." I thought you guys would find that little history tidbit interesting. Anyways, you two keep doing what you're doing. I love listening to you guys every week. Stay fancy, Abraham.
Nice. Thanks, Abe. You sound honest to me. It's a Hittin Papaw story. Harry, I've been pinked. Pinked,
I've been pinked. Okay.
Funny way to put getting shot in the chest, but...
One last one, and it's just one. I'm only saying this because it needs to be addressed. Subject line, limit. Gentlemen, did you have a cursing limit imposed on you? Because that sucks. Keep putting on airs, Brad Heck. Yeah, so a lot of people are curious about the fact that the word has been edited out harshly in a lot of the episodes, and I'm just going to go ahead and be straight up honest with you right now. Yeah, it has, because apparently on YouTube, it limits our monetization and sometimes makes us not get monetized at all. And we need to make money for this show to work. That's all there is to it. And it's a significant...
bleeped or...
It just gets muted.
So it's like, I told that bitch to off.
Yeah, it gets muted. And I know that it's...
kiss my ass, mother. Like, it sounds like that?
Yeah. Exactly. It does suck.
Yeah, well,
listen, it sucks. I hate it. I wish that it didn't have to be, but the reality is that we're losing out on a lot of money, and this show needs to make money in order for it to be worth us doing. And the only solution I can think of is maybe me and Trae will talk about it, where on welovecorey.com or or patreon.com/Trae Crowder, we'll eventually just put up the unedited episodes so that you can check them out there. But you're just going to have to be patient with us. If you love the show and you want the show to do well, that just is how it has to be. I mean, we have to make money to be able to do this show, and we've been getting limited, and some of our videos have been getting kicked off completely, and we can't have that. So, we just have to do what we have to do. I don't agree with it. I don't agree with YouTube on that, but I don't really have a say in the matter, and it is what it is. You do like me and Trae both do this show for fun. We love doing this show, but we also have families to support, and we want this show to be as good as it can, and money means us being able to do that. Like, the more money this show makes, the more it makes sense for us to get together and record some in person or go on tour and do a live show. And so we're hoping that you can just deal with it. And I'm very sorry. That's not a personal decision. That's a professional decision. So that's all I'll say about that.
There you go. Straight from the horse's dick.
Straight from the horse's dick. Trae, where are you going to be this week?
When this comes out on Friday, I'll be in Philly tonight and tomorrow night. Thanks to everybody who came out in Frederick, Maryland yesterday. And then Sunday, I'll be in Newark, New Jersey, doing Jersey stuff with the meatballs there. And then I got a one-nighter in Phoenix the weekend after that. And then the Bay Area, California, Nashville with Corey and Drew in middle of December. And then I'm rounding out the year in Chicago, Illinois. Go to TraeCrowder.com. Come see me. It's going to hit.
Yeah, go to TraeCrowder.com. Please come see us in Nashville. Speaking of that, I'll be at the Comedy Catch in Chattanooga, Tennessee this weekend, but forewarning, it's Dale Jones is the headliner. You should go see him even if I wasn't there. Dale is the, in my opinion, funniest comic working today that you may not have heard of. The reason I'm there, I'm working on new material to debut in Nashville. So that's what I'll be doing, workshopping some stuff. You may even see me with a notebook. So come see me at the Comedy Catch this weekend. Also go to WeLoveCorey.com. I'll be putting up some clips from that. I've also got a couple clips, election related clips from that. And I just started working on a new cooking/movie show. I'm basically bringing back Dinner and a Movie because I feel like we need that in America. But it's I gave it the old Corey Forrester twist. The first episode, I'm making tomato soup and reviewing Austin Powers, International Man of Mystery. Editing that right now. It's going to be a lot of fun. And you can get all of that at WeLoveCorey.com. Read all my stuff in the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. And aside from that, stay fancy.
Mother-ers. Excuse.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we just got to get better at stopping cussing, Trae. But
I was going to say, now that I know that, I think I'm going to just try to just do that.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I'll still say, but like I'll censor myself as well. I'll try to do.
Let's try to do that. But anyway, stay fancy.
There you go. Perfect.
Here's Lydia Loveless.
1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Royalty and rednecks are alike. They both like cutting and picking fights. Biscuits and baked beans where they don't belong. Sit on down with Corey and Trae and learn some fancy shit today. We'll laugh a little even when they're wrong. They'll take you to a magical place where if you call someone a cunt, nobody cares. They keep it debonair at putting on airs, putting on airs, putting on